Join us as we head out on our first trip in our brand new all-electric Kia EV6. We'll take you on a journey through Gold Country, a rarely seen part of California. Along the way, we'll deal with range anxiety.
Well, this is not quite what I had expected.
Charge the car a few times.
And I hope this works because we have nowhere else to go.
Share lessons learned and have a great time.
Hey guys, it's spring break and we are leaving on our first road trip in our brand new EV6. We are headed out from the San Francisco Bay Area to California's Gold Country. In this video, I'm combining two of my passions, EVs and travel. So let me know in the comments below how you like this format. Gold was discovered in California in 1848 and the rush peaked in 1849, thus giving rise to the famous year that's used in all kinds of references. One of the places the reference was used was to name a highway, Highway 49 that is. Highway 49 runs about 300 miles all the way from Oakhurst in the south to Chilkoot Vinton in the north. We'll be covering a part of this route from Mariposa to Auburn, hitting gold rush towns like Sonora, Jackson, and Placerville along the way. What I'm driving is the extended range Kia EV6 all-wheel drive GT line, which is EPA rated for 274 miles of range, and we'll need to make multiple charging stops. So we'll put that 800-volt charging to the test. In the car is Brian, our son Jamar, and our dog Archie. Today's leg takes us from the Bay Area to the town of Mariposa, a distance of 165 miles, which is less than the range of the car. However, our onward route takes us through some country back roads where there are no chargers. Today, I'm using a Better Out planner for the first time. Since I'm anxious about this first trip in our EV, I've entered the full loop into ABRP, and it tells me that our first charging stop is at an Electrify America in Turlock in only 99 miles. We're starting with 100% charge and should arrive there with 58% charge.
Our range shows as 278 miles and odometer as 505 miles. Our route to Mariposa is mostly flat to start until we get closer to our destination, where we have a steep gain up to 2,446 feet.
So let's find out how we do. Here we go.
Our route to Mariposa had us leaving the Bay Area over the San Mateo Bridge, going through the windy Altamont Pass, cutting over to Highway 99, which goes through the heart of California's agricultural Central Valley, and to our first charging stop at the Electrify America chargers in Turlock.
All right, let's plug in. So swipe to charge.
That charge session got working and we decided to grab a bite in the meanwhile.
So that charge session took about 33 minutes and the max charge power was about 132 kilowatt, which, given that it was a 350 kilowatt charger, isn't quite that impressive.
We headed out on Highway 99 towards our destination.
So since the range is showing only 258 and there are no chargers until Placerville, which is quite a ways away, I'm actually going to switch to eco mode.
Leaving Highway 99, we took the beautiful two-lane Highway 140 for a bit. Soon, we hit our uphill section and began climbing up some windy roads. Shortly, we arrived into Mariposa and to our first destination at the California State Mining and Mineral Museum.
The California State Mining and Mineral Museum is a great place to start and get an orientation of Gold Country. It's situated in Mariposa, the location of the rich Mariposa vein. The museum has some incredible exhibits showing the history, geology, and minerals of Gold Country. One of these is an incredible 13.8-pound gold nugget called the Frico Nugget. There's also a cool mine tunnel. Another neat exhibit is a working scale model of a stamp mill that shows how gold was found and extracted from the ground.
With that, we sampled some local fare at the 1850 restaurant and called it a night. How did the car do? Well, just fine, except that the range estimate was dropping faster than the actual miles covered. I'll get more into that later in the video. Day 2 had us going from Mariposa to Sonora, right through the heart of gold country. It was hilly terrain, with one section where the elevation drops from about 2,200 feet down to 900 feet and then back up to 2,300 feet. We drove out on windy, wet roads to our first stop at Bear Valley, where Colonel John Fremont set up a small town after he found gold. What's amazing is that he bought the property for $3,000, but sold it a few years later for a whopping $6 million. Our next stop was the scenic lookout of Fremont's Fort, where John Fremont had to set up a fort to defend his interests. We then began a descent down some insane switchbacks. We're going through all these crazy switchbacks, and level 2 on the regen paddles works great. I can just use single pedal on my accelerator and it'll go and it'll brake as I need to automatically. That brought us into the town of Coulterville with its Hotel Jeffrey, which reportedly is haunted. Unfortunately, it's now closed, so we couldn't stay there and verify if that rumor is true or not. Heading out, we stopped for a photo op at a vista point overlooking the Moccasin Dam and Reservoir.
Cheese! I hate cheese.
Next up was the haunted town of Chinese Camp, where 5,000 Chinese laborers lived in its heyday. It's complete with spooky structures and a haunted church. But the highlight of day 2 was Jamestown.
Jamestown was a big gold rush town and is now a California historical landmark. This picturesque town has been featured in a number of movies, including Back to the Future, Hidalgo, and Pitticut Junction. This is memorialized on a Walk of Fame in the town. A cool thing to do in Jamestown is ride the Sierra No. 3 locomotive. There's also the Railtown 1897 State Historic Park with a working railroad house.
With that, we headed into Sonora and checked into the historic Sonora Inn. Sonora is the county seat of Tuolumne County and is named after Sonora, Mexico, from where miners settled in the city in 1848. In honor of these Mexican miners, we of course had to have Mexican food that night. The car, it did just fine, arriving with about 44% charge.
Hey guys, what's up?
Jamal, can you stop?
Ready for day 8?
Oh my god.
Are we ready for day 3?
Oh yeah.
Here we go.
We continued exploring gold country, going from Sonora to a destination in Placerville, where we needed to charge. The highlight of the day was the Columbia State Historic Park. An entire section of a real town, Columbia, has been turned into a state park. It shows a gold rush town preserved in its 1850s state. You can hop on a stagecoach ride, grab a bite to eat, snack on candy, and check out a range of real town businesses. We headed through a few more gold rush towns like Angels Camp and San Andreas Town to our charger in Placerville, where we arrived with only 10% charge and 24 miles of range. Well, this is not quite what I had expected. When we last left the charger, I had charged to 100%. Theoretically, per EPA range, that should have given us a range of 274 miles. The actual distance we traveled to the next charger was 207 miles. So there should have been about 67 miles of range left when we arrived at the second charger. But in actuality, the range left when we arrived at the charger was only 24 miles and showing 10% state of charge. That's a difference of 43 miles between the theoretical and actual range left. Quite a big difference. Just leaving the first charger, we were already at 258 miles instead of the 274, and then I'm assuming we lost more due to terrain and weather. I'm glad I had put it into eco mode and I drove the speed limit, otherwise I'm not sure we would have made it. While the range drop was disappointing, the charging session was not. That was actually quite incredible and super fast. I've created a separate video for that. Click on the link in the top right of your screen to watch it or save for later. I don't want to ruin it for you, so I'm not going to tell you the results, so be sure to check it out. Later, we checked out the charming town of Placerville and stayed at the historic Cary Hotel. With a 100% charge and our range anxiety gone, we headed the next day to probably what was the most remarkable stop on our tour, the Marshall Gold Discovery State Historic Park. This park marks the site where gold was first discovered in California in 1848. We took a tour and learned more about the park. James Marshall had been designated by John Sutter to build a hydro-powered sawmill at the South Fork of the American River. While inspecting the tail race on January 24, 1848, Marshall found gold. They tried to keep the news secret, but word got out and started the explosion that was the gold rush of California. The park has a great museum with some neat exhibits. There's also a number of historic buildings, including a Chinese grocery store and a great display explaining how the mining and extraction process works. With that incredible experience behind us, we began the drive back home. That was mostly downhill and took us along Highway 50, into Sacramento, where we joined Interstate 80 towards San Francisco,
Back to Bay Area traffic.
crossed the Bay Bridge, and made it back home just in time to celebrate Jamar's birthday. So, what did I learn from our first trip with the EV6? Well, as a road tripping car, it does just fine. It rides beautifully and the cargo space was just fine for us. I'll get into more pros and cons about the car in a future video. But one of the important takeaways was about range predictions. I kept logs of the actual miles covered along with the drop in range and did this analysis. The drop in range miles was about 11 to 14% more than the actual miles traveled, with a trip average of 12.5%, which means that if I want to travel 100 miles, I expect the range estimate to drop by 112.5 miles. Alternately, if the range estimate shows 100 miles, I would expect to travel only about 89 miles. Another important takeaway was about charging. You have to plan for it. In my case, the Electrify America chargers work just fine, with one mind-blowing charging session. If you can time the charging with a meal break, it works out just fine. But because chargers are still far apart, it doesn't leave you with much flexibility with your travels, nor any room for mistakes like having to backtrack to your hotel because you've forgotten something. I'm planning on going on lots more road trips with this car. Let me know in the comments if you like this travel and EV road trip format, and I'll make more videos for you guys. Please subscribe and consider supporting me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Please give the video a like, share your comments below, and subscribe to the Driver Download.